What's up, guys? Today we're going to be going over the new Stasis hand cannon this season. I'm not going to try to pronounce its name. And this scene is a 120 RPM with a very unique god roll on it. I think is 100% worth using and will elevate any Stasis build this season. So jumping into the perks in the left column, really there's only the new perk Rimestealer. I guess you could try to use stats for all, but a lot of the other perks on hand cannon just aren't great for PvE. So looking at the Rimestealer perk, if you don't know how this works, it's destroying a stasis crystal or defeating a frozen target with this weapon grants you frost armor. So anytime you shatter a crystal, frozen target, you get 1 stack of frost armor, which can stack up to ×5. One thing I have noticed with this perk is if there's like 4 crystals and they all shatter at the same time, it will only give you 1 stack, not 4, which is kind of annoying. But overall, with the right stasis build, you're going to constantly be at max stacks of frost armor with this perk and this unique god roll. So that shouldn't really be a problem at all. And overall, I think this is a great left column perk if you're taking advantage of stasis builds. Every stack of frost armor, I believe, is 4.5% DR unless they changed it and I missed it. Which means at ×5 without the fragment that increases your stacks, that's 22.5% DR that stacks with like 10 resilience and other things in the game. And for a left column perk, I mean, that is very high value that you'll just have at all times. And if you are using the stasis fragment to get up to 8 stacks of frost armor, that's gonna be 36% DR, which is just massive. And for a left column perk, there is really not too much more you can ever ask for. And the reason I am so excited about this weapon is because you can pair in the right column with Rimestealer Headstone, where precision final blows spawn a stasis crystal at the victim's location. And with this being a hand cannon and a 120 RPM, very easy to get precision final blows, create a lot of stasis crystals. When you destroy those stasis crystals with Rimestealer, get a stack of frost armor, and you'll just always have frost armor going, always have a bunch of crystals all over the place. And overall is one of the best rolls possible for stasis builds in the game. But if we look at the rest of the right column perks, while there are some decent damage perks, for example, Desperate Measures or even Frenzy, the issue is there's not any great left column perks outside of Rimestealer. And while Rimestealer plus Frenzy sounds pretty good and might be worth keeping if you get it, the fact that Rimestealer plus Headstone is such a crazy and like insane synergy, I just don't see a reason to use Frenzy or Desperate Measures over Headstone if you're using Rimestealer. And since Rimestealer is the only left column perk that's really worth getting, it kind of makes the damage perks in the right column also not that relevant. But I would say if you do get Rimestealer plus Frenzy or Desperate Measures, maybe hang on to it, because in some builds we're going to be creating crystals all over the place anyways. Maybe you don't need Headstone, and at that point it's going to be overkill. I don't think there's really a situation where that is true. I think more crystals is always a good thing, but you could take advantage of something like Frenzy in those situations. So overall, for stasis builds right now, with this weapon and this god roll, all you have to really do is throw on the Shards Fragment to increase the grenade recharge rate when you shatter crystals, happen all the time with Headstone. Then you can throw on Fissures to increase the damage and radius of the shatters. Then also Rending to make it so it can one-shot all the crystals you spawn in with Headstone or whatever your build is using. And finally, throw on something like Torment that takes advantage of your stacks of frost armor. Or you can throw on the fragment that will allow you to increase the duration of frost armor and get up to ×8. Another great fragment to use with this god roll. And the final thing I want to mention is the origin trait on these new weapons. The Dark Aether Reaper. Final blows with this weapon periodically spawn Dark Aether charges. Charges can be detonated early with weapon fire or by coming in contact with them. Doing so refills this weapon from reserves. And the way this seems to work is roughly like every 4 or 5 kills with one of these new season weapons, you'll create this like little orb that kind of floats in the air. If you're close to it, it kind of moves towards you, and you can either shoot it or walk into it, and when you do so, it will overflow the magazine from reserves. On this hand cannon, it seems to be roughly 50% of the base mag. With a 13 mag, it went up to 19, and with 11 mag, it went up to 16, so +5 and +6. So it seems to be based off your base mag size, and it's just another way to avoid reloading with this weapon. I think this origin trait will be kind of interesting on the heavy GL. I'm not sure when that video will go live. If you don't know, I've been on vacation basically this entire season. Almost every video you see is being recorded well in advance, so I'm not really sure what the schedule and which order things are going up. And also, I'm making deal with the weapons I have. I had a limited amount of time to grind out the weapons themselves, so that is why I don't have this god roll yet, and I really want to get to it, because I think it's going to be my go-to primary of the season. I think I'm going to love it with the Warlock build with a new Bleak Watcher exotic, because on Prismatic it's going to allow me to get Frost Armor stacks. Headstone is great to pair with the Ruin Fragment, and overall, really whatever build you throw this god roll at for Stasis is just going to greatly enhance it. It's going to allow you to get more Frost Armor stacks, it's going to allow you to create more crystals. And one thing I haven't necessarily talked about in a very long time, because I just haven't used Headstone and really Stasis in quite a long time, is that Headstone is unironically, in my opinion, probably the best like explosive type perk in the game for primary weapons. I think it's better than Dragonfly, I think it's better than Firefly. I think it's right in there with like Volt Shot and Incandescent, if not better. And this is the case mostly when you're using the Fissure's Fragment, or I believe it's called Ruin on Prismatic, the two ones that increase the radius and damage of shattering. And with those two fragments, Headstone is kind of the same function as something like Firefly, where you get precision final blow and there's going to be an explosion. With Headstone, it's delayed, you have to shatter the crystal, but the explosion generally is going to be a higher radius and way more damage, and offers synergy with the Stasis subclass, unlike something like Firefly or Dragonfly, where it's just the explosion doesn't really benefit your subclass or build in any way outside of that. So overall, in my opinion, Headstone is right in there with things like Volt Shot and Incandescent in terms of like the best explosive perks for primaries in the game. And the only downside of this hand cannon, some people might see it's a 120 and be like, oh, I'm never going to use it. I think 120s get too much hate in PvE. Yeah, generally in PvE, the higher the rate of fire, the higher like the DPS, and just generally better for most weapon types in the game. But it's not that big of a deal on a hand cannon. Most of the time in lower content, you're going to one-shot all the enemies anyways. Then in harder content, with it being Headstone and relying on precision final blows, the fact that it does more damage per shot at the 120 RPM will just help you consistently get those one-shot final blows in harder content, or even like two-shot final blows. So while I do think the higher RPM hand cannons are probably a little bit better overall, I don't think it being a 120 is make or break it at all. Already this season, I've been using the something new, I believe the Dawning hand cannon with Headstone and Demo, and that is also 120 RPM, and it feels fine. Like I don't get the 120 hate. But anyways, I think that's gonna be it for the video. Definitely get this hand cannon. Rimestealer plus Headstone has such high great synergy that I think it's like a must-have weapon, and it will be my go-to primary for Stasis builds. Anyways, let me know what you think about this hand cannon down below. Like usual, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.